bad of an athlete yourself there, brother. It's for those of you who don't know, Craig is a very accomplished basketball player, even just locally, like a legend. Talking to some of the guys I've played with, asking who's the best basketball player you ran with, maybe at the Salve Geddes Youth Center, and your name is always put up. Yeah,
thank you.
I never had the chance to play with you, but I don't know when you hung up the
a long
B-ball
time ago.
sneaks.
05, I hung them up.
05, okay.
Yeah, I was young. That's enough.
Yeah. But talk a little bit about your background. So you went to West Hill.
Oh, yeah, so I grew up in Westvale, like a block from Bishop Ludden.
Okay.
My mother raised us by herself with my sister and I. My dad left when I was 4. We struggled a bit, like food stamp struggle. My mother was a Catholic school teacher. They didn't make a whole lot. So just really raised by my mother. But we didn't really know how poor we were until later, So my mother did a really good job. Like, she made it fun, a really good child. It's, the 80s, man. It's a different time. It was a fun time. Sports, a huge part of our lives. Basketball, football, we watched, played, went. Education was big. My mother was a teacher. So grew up when West Hill High School, Lafayette College, and then came back and started working. Yeah. It's kind of it in a nutshell.
Was basketball always your favorite? How did you flourish so much in that sport in particular?
Soccer I was better at soccer, and I played varsity soccer my freshman year. And I got brought up to varsity basketball at the end of my freshman year, like 2 games left. And I just fell in love with the game. Once you started seeing that improvement, and I think most people kind of gravitate towards basketball, whether like you see like a baseball, a football player, whatever, they kind of gravitate towards basketball for whatever reason. So I did. I fell in love with it, and I just put everything into it, quit soccer, and just hoops, and fell in love.
There's something about basketball. I tell the story that I went to Lemoyne lacrosse camp. I was always better at lacrosse, clearly, and that's what I ended up pursuing in college. But when I was younger, I went to Lemoyne lacrosse camp, and it was triple sessions in the summer, outside, putting equipment on, baking in the sun. Like, it was fun, but it was hard, and I didn't love it by any means. The next year, I went to Lemoyne basketball camp. Inside, AC, 3v3 games, knockout. Yeah. I could play basketball all day at that age, and it was the most fun I've ever had up to that point in my life. And I was like, wow, why am I going to this lacrosse camp when I could be doing this? And so there's just some, yes. And even today, I love lacrosse. I love watching it. I really enjoy coaching it. I don't really enjoy playing it very much anymore. I still love playing basketball. And I see guys who are, my dad's age who still play and still can compete, right? You can develop kind of the old man game and still be competitive. It's fun.
So what made you pick lacrosse? Just because you were better at it?
I think, basketball, I never even ended up playing varsity. I switched to CYO because I was playing varsity football and lacrosse. It was, a lot to do 3.
Yeah.
And I had a great experience with CYO. I always just enjoyed playing basketball more, but lacrosse gave me an opportunity playing for Coach Misser to really go to, I had a lot of Division I, offers. So it was I knew I would get further in lacrosse just being from where, playing in that program and being from upstate New York.
As legends. That's obviously that. That was at one point that program. I have cousins down in Maryland that play lacrosse. One played at Maryland, the other one, 2 played at Fairfield, and they went to, I think, St. Mary's, I think. Anyways, when they came up here, they were kids. Oh, you're near West Jenny? We had to drive by West Genesee High School, because West Jenny lacrosse was a nationwide deal. So, and you had been the best coach. So you had to, you couldn't
so
get
fortunate. Exactly.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the last podcast, the recruiting process. You look at what they do today and all these prospect days and tournaments, all these places they got to go to maybe get seen by a coach, where we sat down like this, me and Coach Misser, he's bring a list of 10 schools, and he'd be like, this would be a good fit. You don't have the grades for here. You probably won't like this coach. Good fit.
How good
Narrow
is that?
It down to 3 or 4, be like, all right, I'll give him a call, and then I'll put you in touch.
Yeah.
That's all.
How good is that?
It was wow, we had it so easy in a way.
Yeah.
And now it's completely different, but very fortunate to kind of have that experience under Coach Misser.
Yeah. I don't know, because I never played lacrosse. We didn't have it at West Hill, but similarities between, everyone says it, similar lacrosse and basketball. Is that the case?
Yeah. I mean, between defensively, right, helping, using your feet. All the cross defense, yes, stick is important position, but it's really footwork. And that's what basketball is, right? Defensive footwork. Sliding is recovering in bad. It's the same thing, just if you want more player out, 6v6 instead of 5v5. Even, now I think I mean, Massera was one of the coaches to spearhead it, but it really started turning maybe 20 years ago into a motion offense. And that, I mean, maybe before that, actually, I think before that, but he like, it started becoming popular. I remember when I was young, where it's not like plays, right? It's motion offense,
Yeah.
kind of like basketball. And
Yeah.
it's like, you put them in these sets so players can make plays, and you just make sure they're not getting in their way. People are cutting through. So like understanding basketball motion, really translates to lacrosse,
Yeah.
motion, and
That's cool.
outside of the actual skill of
It's
passing,
physical.
catching, shooting.
Lacrosse is more physical. You get banged up.
That's
pretty
why I
good.
don't like playing anymore. It's like, I could still move a little bit, but then I get cross-checked. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, all right, I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah, that lingers a little bit longer now than it
Yes,
did
exactly.
20 years ago.
Yeah, it used to be wake up the next day and not even feel it. Now it's 2 weeks later. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I still can't
wait.
even move my
It gets
shoulder.
worse.
That's so funny. Basketball at Lafayette.
Yeah, basketball West Hill was awesome and fun. Basketball Lafayette was
A grind.
a grind. You go from a culture, and plus I spent a lot of time around the Syracuse program because Bernie Fine, I was close with Bernie. Bernie was good to me. And I knew like Hop, and I went up there and I knew some of the players and stuff. So to see West Hill and Syracuse, then go to Lafayette where it was more about education. It's like a
Patriot League.
yeah,
right?
Patriots like a mini Ivies, and they worried about education. They didn't care if you could shoot the ball; it didn't matter, So it was education first, and basketball came second. And for me, unfortunately, at that time, was basketball was it, So it was tough because the people didn't have the same mindset, and so it was. I redshirted my freshman year because I had knee surgery, so I then played 4 years after. So I was there for 5. And it was a grind. It was. I'll be honest, I didn't love it. And looking back as an adult, because I'm an angry kid, because you grow up like you grew up, and that's about the time I started finding out like what happened. Geez, what he left, why did he leave, and why are we poor, blah blah blah. And so I'm angry. I'm an angry kid. So I wish now as an adult I could go back and do it again because Lafayette, great opportunities. You should be there. You play basketball. And you get an incredible education. You meet the alumni. You network, and you get a great job, and you're all set up. That's how you're supposed to do it. And I just was angry and didn't take advantage. And so looking back, like if my kids had the opportunity, I'd be, man, it's incredible. It was bad. I wish I could do it over, that part of it. One, I wouldn't go to Lafayette, but 2, if I did, I would certainly go and take more advantage of the situation. I just didn't do what I was supposed to do.
I think that's pretty common for athletes that they didn't take advantage of all that universities have to offer.
Yeah.
Because I think of my experience, I had a great experience, especially at Syracuse, but all I cared about was lacrosse and go and have a beer after or whatever,
Yeah,
like partying a little bit.
Right.
Like the school was like, all right, what can I do that's enough that I'm going to pass and get my degree? But anything beyond that was like, whatever, it wasn't a priority. Not until I was kind of mid-20, then I looked back, I'm like, oh man, I would have loved to have been taking this class or this class.
Right.
But when I was, early 20s, I just didn't care. There's only so much time too, right? They say the triangle of like, you can either have an athletic career, a social life, or be good at academics, like pick 2.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because there's
that's
not enough
true.
time
Right.
in the day
That's
to be
true.
good. I mean,
It's true.
some people do it,
But you could, for me, I could have done a better job. I should. I didn't go to a whole lot. I skipped class. I didn't buy books sometimes. I made it through and I did all right. But you should just set yourself up better, I guess. You know what I mean? The opportunity is incredible. And kind of.
Well, nowadays you pay so much for it. You'd hate to
it's crazy now.
not take advantage of everything.
And how about the NIL stuff? The money that we could be making.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man, my niece plays on the Aces. They're out of Rochester, and and she's a junior. But that group is like, I think they're like second in the country, and they've been. So all of them are going here, there, and everywhere. And the girl from North Syracuse, I can't think of her last name. She's incredible. But I talked to the dad. She's getting full ride plus some money. But hey, good for her.
I mean,
That's
think
right.
about when we were in college. If I had an extra $500 a month, I would have been living like a king.
I know it. We couldn't, like back then, we couldn't take a dinner from somebody. If the alumni took us out, it's illegal.
Yeah, same.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
that's how it was, it's like literally they made you do these compliance sheets. It was like, who paid you this summer?
Man.
You worked this camp. Where'd the money come from? It was like
crazy.
such a pain in the butt. I'm like, I made like $200. Relax. Like,
Man, we're scrounging up our meal money trying to save it,
Yeah.
Man, and if you get like an all-league player in Patriot League is making, you're making 300, 400, 500 grand going somewhere else out there. Like, oh my God.
I mean, what a head start hopefully you have someone advising you to be smart with that
I hope
money.
so. Right. Some of these kids are making millions. Some of these big time men are
and I would
millions.
assume most of them do. But even even if you make a few $100,000 in college,
Man,
that's such a head start.
it's designed to make your college experience comfortable. You know what I mean? It's more than comfortable.
How comfortable do you need to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's more than comfortable. You could do. I mean, something like I think, like Carson Beck, for example. I saw an interview where he said he hadn't even gone to class for 2 years. You know, he's making, was he making 4?
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to do anything.
That's what I don't understand, is because like we always had to be eligible.
I know.
I mean, what
an
strings are they pull? I mean, I get it, right? When you're a big time athlete,
Yeah.
I'm sure they can do whatever they want, but it's like if we weren't passing, other than like your first semester freshman year, it was kind of the freshman forgiveness, they called it. But after that, if you weren't passing a class, you wouldn't be able to play. You weren't eligible to play. Like, what? Is that not a thing anymore?
It's not a thing. You don't have to go.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a whole different ball. Like, they're not even amateurs anymore. You know,
they're going to be like 25 years old.
I know.
You know,
it's
like
wild.
Almost like hockey players, you know, they've been doing that a while just because of juniors and all that stuff. But it's crazy that, how are you supposed to be competitive coming in as an 18-year-old and you got like a 6-year senior?
I know. They're not even looking at high schools. A lot of basketball I can speak for, and there are other sports I don't know, but they don't even really look at high school seniors. They're just plucking from the portal, because you're going to take a 23, 24-year-old man, you know, as opposed to an 18-year-old kid. Of course, it's a big difference. 6 years a day. Yeah. So these kids in high school, they got to pay the price. They're just not getting looks like they used to. It's a different ball game, man.
I mean, that's similar to hockey. I had Bob Chattel on, who was kind of explaining that process. And a part of that is because there's just not that many D1 hockey teams. But yeah, they're not going to take a kid out of high school. Like, why not take this 21-year-old who, you know, didn't even play high school, played junior A's, played all these different leagues, got up to 22 years old, grown man, ready to go. Like, I'm going to take him over the potential of an 18-year-old.
All day.
Yeah.
They should limit the transfer. They got to do something. Well, you know, like transfer one time or something.
They get a guy for $1 million that plays 1 year and he's pieces.
Right. Yeah.
It's the Wild West right now. And they got to do something. It's all about money and college sports. I think the intention of giving them some money for what they're doing for a university makes sense.
Yes.
But this Wild West, all about money, no one wants that.
No,
except for maybe if you're getting the check.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. But you don't recognize the teams from year to year. I mean, it's a whole different ball game.
And you wonder why, and I know Syracuse hasn't had success, but personally, it's harder for me to follow, because not only every time I watch it, you know, it's like you watch next year, it's a whole new team. It's like, oh, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? It's like, I don't have the bandwidth to learn every new player. You know, it's like it usually be one new guy or two new guys.
That's right.
But you used to recognize, you know, watching Syracuse, the other players in the Big East.
Yep.
And it's like you'd see them, you know, Rick Hamilton go through and follow his career. It's like now you don't even recognize. The only thing you recognize, like, oh, didn't he used to play for that team?
That's right.
It's once in a while, and it makes it harder for a viewer. It's not as fun to watch.
It's hard to get rivalries because there are new people every year, and it is a whole different thing, man.
Yeah, I wonder what'll happen. That'll be interesting.
Something's got to change.
Something's got to change. For sure.
Plus, I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, the money eventually doesn't the well run dry. You know, if you're, you know, say you and I are you know, kind of helping the NIL cause in Syracuse, and you're giving $2 million and I'm giving $3 million a year. At some point, you know what I mean? I can't keep giving.
Who's
gonna over the
over
next 20? I can't give $60 million.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a very select few over the around that in the country that probably can do that, but I just don't know how that's sustainable.
Yeah, and I think basketball has the best chance at having all these teams still be competitive and have the parity in the sport, just because all you need is 5 guys.
Right.
You know, these football programs. You talk about, it's like the top programs who have the money are going to be able to pay. Everyone else is just going to, it's going to be hard.
Yep.
But speaking of Syracuse, you just opened a new place on Marshall Street.
We did.
Was that the fall?
It was August, mid-August.
Mid-August.
So, yeah, almost fall, late summer.
Okay. So that's your 8th Brooklyn Pickle.
That is.
Is that correct?
It's our 8th.
Wow. Before we even jump into that, graduated from Lafayette. How did Brooklyn Pickle come to the picture?
So graduated from Lafayette, played overseas, came back, started working at Verizon, didn't like that. And the guy that founded Brooklyn Pickle, he dated my mother when I was younger, and I went over to his house. We just kept in touch, and he was good to me as a kid, and we played basketball, out in Skinny Alice, and so whatever. I'd stop by. He's just upset, and he just said, I'm thinking about selling the business. And I wasn't happy at Verizon, so I went home, and I was like, man, I started thinking. Came back and said, look, what if I learned the business from you? You taught it to me, and then when you sold it, you sell it to me rather than, Joe Smith that doesn't really care, And we talked a bunch, and then that's kind of how it started. So
how old were you?
Oh, man, I was 29. I was young. Okay. So back in 2002, and then just, worked, learned, and I bought them out. I built my own, the Liverpool was mine. in 19, and then I bought them out in 21, and then kind of just grew it. Because you don't want to just stand still. My employees are incredible. I had some really, really good employees. And so to kind of sit on them all, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's why I started opening stores, because I could put this person a manager, this person. So now, though, I'm kind of maxed, you know.
Well, not only do you have, what, 5 places locally, or no, I mean 4 locally, 1 in Utica, and
Right,
3
yeah.
in North Carolina.
Yeah. And I took an employee from here down to Pinehurst. The one in Raleigh and Charlotte is like a franchise agreement type thing.
Okay.
My college roommate had Just Salad franchises, and he turned them into Brooklyn Pickle franchises. So, but the other ones I'm involved in all. And so, yeah, and my employees are kind of stressed. I'm stressing them out because I grow, and we grew pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of relax a little bit and
kind of refine and work on
let
what
us-
you have.
Yeah. We got to settle down and kind of get everything tight, and we'll see what happens.
Did you have that vision going into, taking over Brooklyn Pickles? Like, I want to expand this.
I did, and I wanted to grow earlier, but Ken, he didn't need to. He had the 2 stores, he had all the money he needs, so he just didn't want to do it. And I don't blame him. Why add more headaches? Everyone sees more dollars, but it's more headaches.
For sure.
Yeah. So I was younger and I wanted to grow because you didn't want it to stay the same. So yeah, I always had the vision. I wanted to grow it, and I still want to grow. I just got to make sure everything's got to be kind of buttoned up. Everything's got to be in place before. Like, we're good now, but to go forward, we're at that point where things got to change a little bit. So we got to make sure we're ready for it.
From like a back end perspective?
I think, yeah, you got to have everything buttoned up, your systems, your procedures.
Yeah, like
and
your
all
SOPs,
that stuff.
standard operating procedures.
All that.
You want to keep it consistent.
Yeah. We're still a mom and pop, and so when you grow more, if you franchise, you kind of have to get away from the mom and pop and get a little more sophisticated, I guess. And we're at the point where we've got to do that.
Okay. When you say mom and pop, like, I think that's part of the vibe Brooklyn Pickle is, and I think that's part of the reason why people like it too. They don't feel like they're going to a Subway. I mean,
Right.
not to mention it's better, but
Yeah.
is there a way to kind of keep that feel while also, I guess, on the back end, really making the systems more efficient
Yeah.
and making it more corporate like?
For sure. I guess I should say in the back end, like, you've got to have the register systems have to be, you have to have an app, the loyalty, all that stuff is coming. And you've got it. Like, our register systems were they were okay, but you want to be able to get everything tied in. So if the price of turkey for us goes up a dime, you want to know how much turkey you're selling and how many halves, how many wholes, and how much that's going to affect your bottom line. Like Tully's, I'm close to those guys, and they've got it down. You know what I mean? And John G. Martino from Tully's has been like a mentor to me. So he's like, Craig, you got to do that. So I've been like last year or two really, spent a lot of time with him. He's really been helping me seeing what I have to do to get bigger, because those guys, like, 2, 3 stores, whatever it is, and they just have the systems down. And
They do that many Tully's?
Yeah, there's like, well, with the copper tops and the
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
all
right.
that together,
Yeah.
So you just got to have everything kind of systems and the procedures, the back end, like you're saying, that's all got to be recipes, how long it takes to make each thing. So when new people come in and you're handing this to, hey, Luke, you want to open Brooklyn Pickle? Here it is. Here's the recipe. Here's how long it's going to take. Here's what it's going to cost. You got to have that all kind of buttoned up.
Because you want them to reflect what the other Brooklyn
Yes.
Pickles
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
You don't want to dilute, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden people don't have a good experience
Yeah, you
there.
don't want that. No, you never want to be corporate. I hate corporate. I hate the corporate talk. The corporate, anything corporate, I don't like. I want you want to stay mom and pop out front, but the backside, as you said, you got to kind of have that corporate where it's all tight.
Yeah. I was reading an article, I think it was from the fall, and it talked about how you said, like, the kind of the pillars of Brooklyn Pickle are like a fresh food, the efficient process of getting in and out, and delightful customer service.
Yes.
Something along those lines.
Yes.
Like, those are the 3. Is there any one of those that is more important than the other, or is it kind of a balance of those 3, and that's really what separates you from the average sandwich shop?
So I think the mission statement is we'll serve the customer the freshest product, most pleasant manner, least amount of time. I think
Okay. Yeah.
I think the service is, but what's funny, in North Carolina when we opened, we're golfing down there with a guy, and he said, we're talking about Brooklyn Pickle, and he had heard about it, but we hadn't opened yet. He said, I'll be honest with you. He said, I don't care how good your food is. I just want to have good service. And so, okay, that's a new perspective. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of places that have great food that don't make it.
Right.
That's why I asked this question, because I'm curious to what you
And
have
I
to say.
think if you do have to have a combination of it. Yeah, no, you got to have good food and you got to give service. If it's a little bit, you want it to be quick too. I think that's what we separate ourselves by the speed, because you get in and out. But I think the most important ones, I guess, out of that are the food and the service. Because if it's good food and it's really good service, you will be willing to wait a little bit longer. I don't like that, but I would assume people would be willing to wait a little bit longer.
I agree, but I also think you've spoiled the area by there can be 10 people in line at Brooklyn Pickle. You're still in and out in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's
where I've been to places locally where I'm the only one in line and it's 15 minutes to get my sandwich. I'm like, what the heck? And it just makes me appreciate what Brooklyn Pickle is able to do.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think that is a big part of it. But also, the delightful customer service, it makes me think of, there's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Okay.
So you remember the portion. Okay. You remember the portion where he talks about, why are dogs very popular? Why do people have dogs? Because they cost money, right? You have to walk them, you got to feed them, you got to take them to the vet. They're not cleaning the house. They're not doing anything really. What do they do? What they do is they have that genuine excitement to see the owner every time you see them.
Yep.
And that's strong enough to be like, I want to take care of this thing and do all this for this dog. How do you replicate that in business, right? How do you have your customer facing employees essentially do something along those lines that people are like, wow, I really like going there because those people make my day.
That's right. Because you don't know what people are going through. They might have a really terrible day, so it could be the only good interaction they have all day. So you want to make sure you give someone a good experience, no matter what.
Yeah.
So
and they're all friendly.
That's good to hear.
Throwing a few extra pickles on there. Yeah. But 8 stores. Why North Carolina? Why Pinehurst? Anything to do with your extracurricular activities as far as golf goes, or
everything to do with that? So one of my best friends, Steve Ziff, he went there as a kid, and he kept saying, I knew Pinehurst, I'd been there, but he said Forest Creek. It's a course down there, and he kept raving about it. So all right, let's go. We went down, and I fell in love with Forest Creek, with Pinehurst, the whole area, golf, and I'm like, they don't really have anything like this down there, and it's an excuse to get there. So my family spent a ton of time there the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Do you get a place down there?
Yeah, we have a place down there, and we're actually going to go in the next couple of weeks because I haven't been there. So
can't golf in this weather.
No, this is terrible. So yeah, so that's kind of that was what kind of drove it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, how hard is that managing different locations out of state? It's
hard because they had a real rough couple weeks, and I can't just drive across town to help them out. So I sent someone down there, but it's frustrating. It's the helpless feeling, like you're not there, and so it's hard. But the girl that came from here is incredible. So, and I know she knows what she's doing. She holds it down, and she's as good as it gets. So as good as it gets. So I'm comfortable.
Has technology helped with that at all? Being able to at least assist in some ways where maybe under Ken he wouldn't have been able to do that in the 80s, 90s, where like, yes, you can't physically be there, but you can help, obviously you can call people, you can Zoom with them, you can maybe do things on the back end, or is it much more, you kind of have to be there because it is a brick and mortar type setup?
I think both. I think, like we put ad from here on Indeed, and she just had people, applying, and she called them, pop interview, she called them, come in. So she didn't have to do anything other than call. I was able to send someone because, it's easy to get someone down there now. And I guess you see there's videos you can see, and you can kind of make decisions and do things. But and I guess in the end, you really do kind of have to physically be there. So there's a little bit of both, I guess.
Yeah. How do you adjust the Brooklyn Pickle offering to cater to a specific market, right? Like I said, you're in Utica. I mean, even being on West Genesee Street and being up on Marshall Street probably is a little bit of a different crowd coming in.
For sure.
Do you mind, you want to be consistent, but you want to cater a little bit to the people coming in to a specific area down in Pinehurst, whatever it is.
Yep.
Are there things you do? Do you rely on your managers to help kind of just, maybe it's a culture thing? I don't know. Like what comes to mind when I say that? Or do you just try to be consistent, delivering the best thing you can be?
I think consistency and delivering the best that you can. The mission statement should hold true anywhere. That doesn't change. But there are certainly different likes and dislikes in area. Like what sells in Pinehurst doesn't sell in Marshall Street. There's different things that people like the Southern taste is a little bit different. Utica is much different than here.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think
what they like as far as soup,
similar.
specials. No, it's a whole different thing. Turkey's a bigger seller here. The Italian down there is a huge seller. The salami and the cappy. Down in North Carolina, it's Reubens are best. It's just weird how it just changes from, yeah.
What about the BP special? That's
a good one too. That's a good one.
That's my favorite.
That's the signature. That's a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, Marshall Street, your most recent location. I didn't realize I was reading that Jimmy John's closed, and that's when you kind of saw that opportunity.
I did. You know, what was really good about that is they left everything. So they left the coolers.
Are you in their location?
Yes.
Oh,
Right
okay. I
there.
didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been up and
Yeah.
I went there and I'd go to Jimmy John's a ton. That's why I was interested because I'm like, man, we used to, everyone I know would go to Jimmy John's all the time. Just easy, quick, easy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, now that that's gone, that's a great void to fill.
Yeah. So it was good for us because they left the coolers, they left the sandwich units, they left the reach-in cooler, all the furniture. So it was pretty nice. Normally when you go in, it's hundreds of thousands. This was low. So it's almost like you had to give it a shot because the startup cost was so low. There's a different vibe up there, man. It's youth, it's students, it's exciting, it's a buzz. And then we got a lot of hospital employees, which I wasn't expecting. So it's a nice mix between the students and the hospital employees, and it's been good so far. It's very weather driven. So when you see like a day like today, where you see flurries and it's gray and you might get a little rain and not great, but when the sun comes out, it's awesome.
Yeah, you got Upstate, you got Kraus right there. I used to work for Stryker. And anytime we're servicing those hospitals, yeah, walk to Marshall Street, grab lunch. So that's perfect. What's the overhead like up in Marshall Street? Is that
They
like
murder
rent?
you on rent.
Yeah,
They murder you on rent.
You have to make up for it.
Yeah.
You get the crowds, but
Yeah, that's why
I
you
can't
go a
imagine
small
it's a
store.
cheap place.
No,
Okay.
so you go smaller because we have to. There's really not too much big up there as far as that goes. But
Do you have like a sit down spot?
yeah, there's 22, 24 seats in there.
Okay, so
But it's called Brooklyn Pickle on the Run because it's a smaller place, less on the menu, and it's more of a grab and go type thing.
Mhm.
Just because it's smaller, so you have to do that because of the rent. I mean, it's a big number.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But it's probably convenient too because there's so many programs and that, schools that maybe order, I'm sure, in bulk or will order catering type orders too. Just being in that location, there's just, so many people that go to the university.
Yeah.
that-
It's been good.
That's
You see
nice.
to people that you wouldn't get. That was my thought. Is like no students really came into the pickle that I saw. You get some Lemoyne kids, but not a whole lot of Syracuse. It's not a whole lot of cannibalizing what's at the east or west. So that's why I did it because those people I don't think are coming. Like you're not going to walk from Kraus or Upstate to Brooklyn Pickle on Burnett Ave. You know what I mean? Students aren't just. So I thought that's why I did it. Just think it's kind of a separate market type thing.
We used to go to Brooklyn Pickle when I was in college, but that I think because I was local
Right,
and I
'cause you
knew
knew-
about it.
right, yes.
But yes, people who, they're coming up from Maryland wouldn't necessarily
No.
know. They're not going to travel that far.
Right.
Unless they,
That was my
it's
thought.
recommended. Yeah, smart. So what's next? I mean, managing the 8, is that really the focus right now? I know you're trying to put some processes in place to be able to maybe expand more, but you want to do it, in a smart way and you don't want to overextend.
No, we're really struggling with our POS right now. We got to figure out what we're doing with the point of sale. Getting our app, getting that loyalty. That's a big thing now. So that's kind of like getting with the times. Once we get that set, get all our processes, all our recipes, everything, all of that set up, and then just kind of relax for a bit. Not relax, but you know what I mean? No growth. And then starting next year, if we have everything all set, then you start taking a look at, are you going to do another store yourself? Are you going to franchise? What are you going to do? But we've got to make sure we got to, stuff we have to do internally to get there.
Yeah. Do you think locally you have enough spots? Would your expansion happen and maybe in other upstate cities or, North Carolina State, wherever it is? Or do you think there's even potential locally here in Central New York?
I think if locally, if I was to do it like out in Cicero would be, I think, okay. It's far enough away where I don't think it would hurt too much. Liverpool, maybe a little bit, but there's so much, we almost went into, where Chick-fil-A is out there in Cicero?
Yeah.
You familiar with that at all?
Yeah.
Right across the street, there's a O'Reilly Auto Parts in like a plaza. We almost went in there and the traffic is it's crazy. So I think anywhere in that area would be good. If not, I thought maybe Rochester might be the next one. It'd be pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you got Burnett Ave, you got West Genesee Street. They're not that far from each other, but
No.
they don't really compete with each other.
Not really.
It's like a sandwich shop. You want, like I said, that local feel, something around the corner. Convenience is a big thing too. It's almost like a coffee shop, right? Like you can have coffee shops, every 2 blocks.
That's true.
But, I think there is opportunity here locally. And, that's what's nice about the opportunity with Brooklyn Pickle. Craig, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's
Yeah,
fun.
man, that was fun. Excited to get me hungry just talking about all this.
Good,
But
that's what I'm
good
supposed to
luck
do.
with the expansions
Thank you.
up on Marshall Street. And
Thank you.
we'll have you on
And
again.
tell your dad I said hello.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, dude.